see everybody here. You're not off on holidays, or maybe you're on holidays here. We're deeply connected to this land as well. We love the land that we live on. We acknowledge and pay our respects to the First Nations people who came before us. And as we gather here, we honour the traditional custodians, past and present, and we commit to caring for this great southern land as a community. We're very proud of our little gallery. We've got a great team of volunteers on the committee, and we have such a variety of wonderful artists every month. We're delighted that this summer exhibition is full of colour and beauty of the land, most of the places we love and recognise around us. So we're very pleasured to have Jackie and Dina here today, and I'm sure you're all keen to hear about their backgrounds if you haven't known it or read it already. So over to you, Jackie and Dina.
And thanks again to the volunteers for the gallery. I'm going to read off the paper because I'll lose track otherwise. My brain might just divert into a different direction. But I moved here about a year ago, and the settlement day I arrived to collect my keys to my new home in Wonthaggi. I was sweaty and dirty from the last load of my car after emptying and cleaning my sold house. I drove down in 30-degree heat, and I had just enough time to go to Cape Patterson before I met the agent to get my key. I ran into the water, I flopped in for a long, floating, deep sigh of release that meant the hard work was finally over, and boy, it felt good. For anyone who's just sold their home in 20 years, you'll know how many months of exhausting that really is. And my feet and knees took over a month to recover. But the C, this vitamin C, was so much more to me than a pretty place. It has replenished my soul. So I chose this region because it talks to me of childhood family stays at Waratah Bay, of school camps to the prom, of familiar trails hiked with friends, and beaches that we coveted in our late teens. It has a raw beauty and a wildness that I've become reacquainted with. The theme vitamin C is more like a verb. It captures the sensation of being on this land, not just observing it, but feeling and responding to all its aliveness and colours. So it has its challenges as well. For me, coming from the Dandenongs, painting big skies and sunsets and water is really new. So this is my first foray into coastal landscape. And it has, it has been a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it because it's given me the opportunity to go to all of these beautiful locations. But one of the biggest challenges is what colour blue is the Bass Strait. And so I ended up investing about 5 more tints of blue and have combined them, and depending on the day and the light, Bass Strait can be really deep and moody, because again, this is that coast, or it can be really subtle, and then sometimes the sky can be really overwhelming. So I've just been playing with all the different nuances of my experience of dealing with a colour, and kind of pushing a little bit more into the saturated realm, which, if anyone knows my work, I really like Fauvism and Expressionism, so that's sort of my influence, and it's about pushing colour so that the emotion of a place comes out through colour as much as just referencing the literal view of a landscape. For me, I've been painting for about a decade, and even though while working as a full-time designer, I've mostly been exhibiting in open studios in the hills, had a dabble with the gallery for a couple of years, but through all my body of work over the last 15 years, landscape is really what endures as my passion, because if I go to a place, it kind of triggers an emotion, it triggers a joy that nothing else. Artists have lots of inspirations, but that's what gets my boat going, so yeah. I'll probably summarise about this show, how it sort of started was, I've got lots of work I've painted, start to see a few galleries. I really like this space. I felt it would be good for landscape, but then I felt there was also a bit of a void in the middle. And since I've moved here, I've been doing life drawing at Archie's Creek, which is where I met Dina. And having met Dina through a few of the other volunteer roles that we've had in other galleries, I said to her, well, I'm doing a marine theme. Maybe you could fit your work into this space and think about something that you would like to work in with this marine theme. So I will introduce Dina as someone who's completely smashed it with something that really is cohesive with what we're doing here. And she can talk about her work.
My notes are like that big. But hi, my name's Dina. I want to thank everyone for being here. I mean, we have friends that have driven down from Melbourne, from the Dandenongs, and a lot of new local friends that we've both made in this community all the way to Lombaggy and towards Phillip Island. So thank you so much everyone for their support. I want to thank Jackie for booking this amazing venue. You know, out of the blue, she's like, I've booked this amazing venue, would you like to put something in the middle? And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. And then I'm like, oh heck, because if you knew my artwork prior to now, it's black skulls. I do Gothic. And I'm like, oh, how am I going to do C? But C's not foreign to me. I grew up in Melbourne and we camped at Wilson's Prom every Christmas for a decade. And I collected seashells and I pinned insects and you know, collected bones, and that's the sort of kid I was. I've been an artist since I was 5, that's my earliest memories. And then as a young adult, moved to Queensland where I had my kids, one of them over there, one. And we lived on the Gold Coast and on Moreton Bay for 30 years. So marine became very intrinsic to a lot of my artwork. I always worked on nature-based themes, be it either forest or marine, and the creatures that inhabit those. Preserving those creatures and preserving those ecosystems is incredibly important to me, and my artwork always says that. About 30 years ago, I started working with resin. These are resin, I'll tell you a little bit more about that in a moment. I started working with resin and I took impressions of the mudflats on Moreton Bay, of the creatures, and made resin panels. So I've been familiar with resin for a long time, and I've been a mixed media artist all that time. And resin's come in and out for me of that. More recently, I bought a 3D printer, a resin printer, because I like innovation. All the people that have worked with me in the past, innovation's kind of my working go-to. And it's taken me the better part of a year to work out how to make a figure in resin on my printer, because it's like really technical. There's nothing easy about 3D printing. And when Jackie said, I'll come here, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Well, I was doing some 3D printing classes, and the easiest shape to make is a blob, hello jellyfish, and the penny dropped, and I'm like, I can make jellyfish. And so here we are. So these jellyfish are made with resin, so I've 3D printed the bell shape, but then I've hand-coloured, hand-iridised and hand-made the tentacles. The sea cucumbers are all printed and are the little sea anemones. And I was already doing preservation of butterflies in domes, and so this was just an extension of that sort of Gothic oddities I was already working on, and I was able to really work with Jackie's amazing colours and help put together this exhibition. Another important thing, and I mentioned conservation, is there's a terrible irony about using 3D printing and using resin, because it is plastic. And it's plastic that's choking our oceans and our waterways. So these are museum specimens of the risks we face as consumers. And my artwork over this next 18 months is going to be dedicated to that consumerism versus conservation. It's hypocritical. We live in beautiful plastic-filled homes with plastic-filled cars, and yet we have a hypocrisy about conservation. And so my work is going to become very intent on that message. But in the meantime, it's bright, cheery and colourful, and thank you.
And highly collectible.
And highly collectible.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you everyone for your support, and if you have any questions, come and see either of us and have wine.
Thanks.